Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here this afternoon. Probably much like myself, it's not the kind of meeting that I like to be holding. Unfortunately, the situation this year and the future biennium doesn't look very positive for us, as most of you that have been reading the local newspapers and listening to television, the state's economy leads us to look at the university's budget from a very different set of eyes that we looked at it some 2 years ago. It's amazing to think that the economy and the resources that the state makes available to state institutions like Eastern Washington University could change so drastically over the course of 24 months. Unfortunately, it has. And as we look at, and we'll go into a little bit more detail, I'll let Mary go into a little bit more detail into what some of those proposals are that we're looking at. Suffice it to say that at least at the current point, we've got 3 different pictures. Unfortunately, each picture getting worse as we move from the governor to the Senate to the House. The challenge for us becomes, how do we best address those to make sure the institution continues to function as best as it can, and how it can become, or how it can be able to meet its central mission, which is education to Eastern Washington students and to the state of Washington. How do we continue to have the institution be productive in terms of reaching its mission? As I've talked to the Board of Trustees, as senior management has talked to the trustees since I've been gone, is really to begin to look at how we make 2 things happen. One is how we make students successful, and how we meet the educational mission of the institution. And those are at the core of what we do at Eastern Washington University. I think I would add that one of the uniquenesses about Eastern Washington University, that in terms of doing that, we do it with a population of students that traditionally don't go to higher education, and those are first-generation college students. So we've got a lot to be proud of in terms of that, and as much as we can do as we develop the budget for the next biennium and the future biennium, quite frankly, because those are the other thing that we're looking at. This is not a short-term set of solutions that we look at, but we look at long-term solutions in terms of the future of the institution. Let me just stop there, and obviously I'll be available for questions as we move through the agenda this afternoon, and I encourage you to provide us with as much feedback and information as you would like to. And let me turn it over to Mary.
Hi. Is this picking up? Can you got me? Okay. Thank you for coming today, and let me start with some introductions. I'm sure you all know your executive team, but let me start. At the end of our table, we have Gary Pratt, our CIO, Dorothy Zeisler-Veralstrad, our Vice President for Student Affairs, Bill Chaves, our Athletic Director, of course, Dr. Revelo, John Mason, Provost, and I'm Mary Vovis, Vice President for Business and Finance. The other group I'd like to introduce before we get started is our University Budget Committee. They are instrumental in this process, and let me also remind you all that they're always instrumental in the process under our newly revised budget modeling system. we would be having these open forums and these campus participations in good times and in bad. So next year, when our budget's better, I hope to see you all back here giving input and participation in this same type forum that the University Budget Committee hosts. But let me introduce Ann LaBarre. Ann is an associate professor of history. Sure, stand. And represents the come on. You have to stand. And represents the faculty. Diana Flores. Diana is a secretary and represents the classified staff. Sue Anderson is a librarian, also representing the faculty. Raphael Guillory, representing the faculty and the faculty organization. Raphael is vice president of the faculty organization. Ted Carmen is our representative from Student Affairs. Leanne Case is a representative from Business and Finance. Don Ross is our representative from Athletics. Kim Grimm is our representative from Advancement. I saw Bruce DeFreitas sneak in the back. Bruce DeFreitas is our representative from the administrative staff. Vicki Shields, I believe, is out of town today, but she is Dean of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and Vicki represents the Dean's Council in the University Budget Committee. And Annette Scare is also, oh, there's Annette, okay. Annette Scare represents the Provost Office. And these are the real workhorse of your budget process. These are the folks that have spent a lot of time looking over the numbers, the policies, the processes, the recommendations. So thank you all for your participation. So let's talk about the budget. Just to give you an idea of our planning timeline, and again, this is the same kind of planning timeline you'll see as we move through our budget process each time. It just becomes more critical sometimes when you're declining budgets rather than adding budgets. In February, we asked, in December, the governor gives us the budget, and we asked all of the vice presidents to take a look at that budget and make the, in this case, associated cuts recommended in that budget, which was roughly $10 million. In February, they turn it into the budget office, we compile them, and we share them with the University Budget Committee, with the president, and people start looking over those budget recommendations. April 2nd, the University Budget Committee, which was last week, spent a full day in a work session where we met with each of the unit leaders and we went through specific questions about their budget, overviews, impacts, etc. So now we're at the open forum section where we get feedback from you on the budgets and the reductions in this case and the impacts to the campus. The budget committee goes back to work, takes all this feedback, makes a recommendation to the president April 20th, and April 27th we go to the faculty senate and present those recommendations. In May, we actually take that budget to the board, and the board approves that final budget. Let me give you an overview of the reductions. The governor, in December, when the governor gave us this budget, we thought it was draconian. Now it sounds pretty good. The governor gave us a $9.6 million base budget reduction. The Senate budget, which came out, gives us a total reduction of almost $17 million, but it backfills some of that budget with one-time federal stimulus money. So the net reduction to the institution after that backfill is $11 million. However, it's important in our planning process to keep in mind that that's a one-time fill of a base budget reduction and could mean that further out into the next biennium we have further reductions. The House the House budget was even more severe, and the House budget gave us a total reduction of $22 million. They gave us federal stimulus funding of almost $5 million for a total base reduction. They also gave us 3% more proposed tuition authority. The Senate gives us a 7% tuition increase. The House gives us 10%, hoping to backfill some of that further reduction with some tuition money. But as you can see, the net impact to the institution isn't a problem we can balance on the backs of our students with tuition increases. It's a pretty significant budget decrease. I also wanted to share the capital budget with you because it has some pretty significant impacts to the campus as well. We average about $40 to $50 million in capital appropriations. Lee. The governor forwarded most of our capital request. The Senate did a pretty good job with our capital. The huge difference you see is in the House capital budget. Our capital budget goes to $13 million for the biennium under the House proposal, which is a pretty significant decrease in spending and really impacts the level of capital work you see on the campus, as well as the level of staffing, because we do employ a lot of people on that capital budget as well. The University Budget Committee is an 11-member body representing each division and campus constituency. That constituency recommends the membership to the president. The president actually appoints them. They review ongoing information. In addition to this budget process and the actual budget reductions, they review the cost savings measures. Hopefully, in good times, they will be reviewing proposals for budget increases. And they receive feedback in various formats from the campus and provides a recommendation to the president. The one thing I want to caution you is these are not the people that actually write line by line the budget, so don't go to ask them, you know, what does line 15 in this $200 million budget mean? They can probably explain it because they have a really good understanding of it, but they're not actually responsible for the technical issues you see arising in the budget. I've introduced the UBC members. And now let me show you what the university-wide reduction looks like. We are currently moving forward with the governor's reduction. This reduction's been planned since December. It's had a lot of thoughtful processes that have fed into it. And we know it's probably not enough of a reduction right now, but we know that we want to be thoughtful as we move forward. So we're asking the board to allow us to use budget reserves to have a transition period while we work on the second phase of the budget. So what you will see is the $9.6 million reduction as we move through all these presentations. Of the total proposed reduction of 9.6, you will see that most of it's going to come out of positions. That's because most of our budget is comprised of people. We just, don't have a lot of operating dollars, and most departments over the years, as we have had good times, have added more and more people and not given more money to operations. I can't tell you how many departmental meetings I go to out there, and the key issue I hear from the faculty is we haven't had an increase in our goods and services budget in 10 years. Well, we can't really decrease budgets that we haven't increased. So we're really being careful to make sure that we preserve those operating goods and services so that we can fulfill our teaching mission of the institution. But as you can see, we're taking roughly 40% of our budget reduction in filled positions, 30% in vacant positions, 11% in pooled positions, and that's some of the adjunct faculty pool, and Dr. Mason will talk to you a little bit more about that, and 17% of our cut in operations. Proportionally, the biggest piece of the budget is, of course, academic affairs, followed by business and finance, and you'll see that those units are taking the biggest percentage of cuts. Total positions by FTE. As you can see, we're proposing under the first $9.6 million reduction, eliminating 59.46 filled positions, 36.86 vacant positions, and we're very lucky are very fortunate that Dr. Arevalo early on saw this situation coming and put a soft hiring freeze in place before the governor did, so that we really are able to take a much larger proportion of our budget reduction from vacant positions than a lot of our peer institutions. Again, proportionally, you can see where we're taking the cuts. We're taking 28 exempt positions, 39 classified positions, and 40 faculty positions. And these are all within these categories a combination of pooled positions, vacant positions, and filled positions. Another view of FTE. And let me tell you that all this information, we were going to actually print handouts for today, but probably the #1 suggestion that we've received is go paperless. So everything you see here today is available on the Budget Office website. You can access these PowerPoints. You can access, there's a web file folder there with lots of more details in it that you can access. So that information, all this is available for you. We didn't print it because we're trying to honor the suggestions of the campus. So that gives you kind of a view of where the first $9.6 million is coming. We've asked Dr. Mason to speak a little bit because so much of the impact of the budget reduction is going to be in academic affairs, and there are specific programming issues that people want to know about. But we've also want to remind the campus this is only the beginning, unfortunately. We have, when the House and Senate reach a compromise budget, we'll have another budget reduction that we will address over the course of the summer and into the fall. We're referring to that as the Phase 2 reductions. And the University Budget Committee will be hard at work on that as soon as we get a number that we can move forward with. I would like to ask that we let Dr. Mason go through the academic affairs overview, and then we can open it up to the forum for questions, because that's really what we're here for, is to hear specific issues and questions. I also want to remind you that on the Budget Office website, if you think of something later or you're too shy to ask things today, you can submit questions in writing, and we'll try to get answers out to the campus as soon as possible. So, Dr. Mason.
I think I'll sit here. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mason.
Okay. Well, as you can see, in round one of this budget reduction, the impact on academic affairs is just over $6 million. I want to stress, as Mary just noted, we're talking about round one only at this point. I also want to stress that what we're talking about today is a draft budget that we have presented to the University Budget Committee and to the President, but this is not the final budget. The President will decide a final draft budget to present to the Board of Trustees in May. We're here today to hear your input, ideas, responses to what you're seeing, because there is still an opportunity for us to make adjustments. I also want to note that in round one, so far we are doing across-the-board approaches to cutting, knowing that the final budget will not be across the board. The President has made it clear that he expects to use tuition revenue to help direct strategically so that the university's mission is supported appropriately. Of the $6 million reduction, you can see on the bar graphs there that on a percentage basis, Central Academic Affairs is taking the largest percentage of its existing budget. So you see there in blue the existing budget and in red the reduction. Central Academic Affairs, the Provost's office and offices reporting directly to the Provost will have a 27% reduction. This is primarily through the elimination of administrative positions, both filled and unfilled. Of the colleges, the School of Social Work and Human Development then takes the largest next cut at 13%, and then science at 12%, on down to the smallest cut in the College of Business and Public Administration at 4%. You might ask, why are these percentages differently? As Mary was saying, we have started a new budget process. This is not just about a budget reduction, it's about a new way of approaching budget. And in academic affairs, we started with what we call a modified zero-based approach to budgeting, where our first effort was to establish an appropriate instructional budget for each of the academic units by comparing the student credit hour workload of our tenure track and tenured faculty to their colleagues at comparable institutions in the United States. And I've visited with every college on the campus as we were developing that new approach, so I think many of you have heard me talk with you about it. That allowed us then to begin our budget always with an instructional budget and then to move to other parts of the budget operations. This time, of course, it means reductions in those items as we go, and it means setting ourselves among our peers at an extraordinarily high level. Our tenure and tenure track faculty in all of our disciplines will, according to this budget, be teaching at the 80th percentile. That is, only 20% of their colleagues across the country by discipline will be teaching fewer students. Next year, when we have new data nationally, of course, that percentage will change, because what we're facing is being faced everywhere in the United States, and we're all going to be handling more students as we are dealing with reduced support from our states. Come on. Does somebody know a magic word for this? It won't do it for me. Okay. The previous slide indicated a comparison of cuts to existing budgets. This slide shows where the proportion of the cuts are going. As you can see, the largest reduction in terms of the overall cut comes from the College of Science, Math, and Engineering, which is not surprising considering that that is the very largest piece of our overall academic budget. After that, Central Academic Affairs is taking the next largest portion of the cut. Let's go to the next slide. For academic affairs, like the rest of the university, this means primarily the loss of positions, because we, of course, are mostly invested in positions. Of our filled and unfilled positions in academic affairs, our classified staff, according to this budget proposal, will be reduced by 11.2%, our exempt staff by 12.2%, and our faculty by 8.8%. Next slide, please. graph gives you a sense of the relative position of our vacant and currently filled positions for these reductions, so that we will have, of our vacant positions, 16 fewer faculty, 8 fewer classified, 4 fewer exempt staff. And of our currently filled positions, 12 faculty will be unfilled, 6 exempt, and 3 classified. We have, go to the next slide, would you? As you can see from this slide, of the positions we're eliminating, no tenure track or tenured faculty positions will be eliminated. Some vacant tenure track positions, I should say, however, will be eliminated, 11 of them. I want to add also that we have currently 18 tenure track searches going forward. We began with about 24, and deans and chairs withdrew 6 of those as they prepared their budget proposals, but we are going forward with 18 searches. As you know, the legislature has put a hiring freeze on the university, but positions to serve the academic program are exempt from that freeze, and I keep thinking in my own head, we're preparing not just for a crisis, but also for a recovery, and we have to make sure that our programs grow and are attended to, and that we're in a good position when this crisis is over. We have about 17 total lecturer and special faculty positions that will be lost with this proposal. In this next slide, I'm just listing for us some of the activities that we have undertaken in round 1 to get to this particular place. The first has been a major effort to increase the economy of our academic program. I was looking at numbers for this quarter, for example, on general education in comparison to the same quarter last year. We are offering 11 fewer sections of general education this quarter than we did last year, and yet our enrollment is up by 6%. And so clearly we are simply being more efficient. We're managing more students with fewer courses and fewer faculty. We've managed this through severely limiting the number of low-enrolled courses that we offer. We have increased the caps in certain courses, and we have reduced reassigned time in a number of areas. This budget proposal also assumes a merger of academic personnel with human resources and the subsequent reduction of administrative and staff positions. We are also downsizing institutional research. We're downsizing support in the area, or the activities, I should say, of the Teaching and Learning Center. We are eliminating the Faculty Fellows Program, but I do want to note that one of the Faculty Fellows positions is in the area of diversity, and we're adding support for diversity through the creation of a new faculty position in American Indian Studies. Also in round 1, we will be reconfiguring the press, ceasing our partnership in Pathways to Progress. That's our partnership with the City of Cheney. We are moving summer school and Running Start out of the Division of International Educational Outreach and putting them into the Provost's office for direct administration. We physically moved graduate studies to the Provost's office to help reduce the need for support staff. And as you know, we've instituted a voluntary faculty retirement incentive program. On this last slide, we have some of the things that we anticipate during round 2 as we go into the next stage of our budget reduction. I've asked all of the deans to prepare a discussion, and I've approached faculty governance to participate in developing a plan for how we can confer, collaborate, and discuss the reduction of our colleges from 6 to 4. This change is essential to materialize the administrative costs that are necessary in Phase 2 of the budget reduction. Our instruction is taken as much hit as it can, hopefully, and so this next round of budget reductions must be targeted toward administrative costs. We will maintain our current configuration of colleges through the next academic year and use the first half of that year for this consultative process to decide what the new configuration ought to be, which programs, which departments should be in which college. But everything will be on the table. We're also going to reduce the number of small departments at the university and insist that some small departments merge with other departments for administrative oversight and administrative support. We're going to downsize the honors program. We're going to downsize graduate studies. We're going to reduce the costs of recruiting, student support, and budget management through collaboration between academic affairs and student affairs. And I'm hoping that we can reduce more certain costs that we have at the university, for example, student evaluation of teaching. By considering both the method and the frequency with which that takes place, we can save costs, and I'm hoping we'll find opportunities for increased savings elsewhere as well. So we have a lot of work to do ahead of us in Phase 2, but again, our emphasis will be on protecting the teaching and learning function at the university and to prepare ourselves well for recovery later. So that's it from academic affairs, but I'm here along with my colleagues from the other divisions to hear your suggestions and guidance for the budget review and also for Phase 2. So thank you.